Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are coming back with a Washington Wizards offseason preview, and this team is in a lot of trouble. Their cap is really high because of the enormous contract they gave John Wall, basically to pay him to sit around at home and rehab from his injury. And they don't have a whole lot of good young talent on their team, but that can change. This offseason, there's potential for them to acquire some really good young talent, actually. To start, their coach is Scott Brooks. I don't really know too much about Scott other than the fact that in Oklahoma City, he received a lot of criticism for just having Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook stand around and ISO all the time. But really, I don't know much about Scott. It seems like he's going to be there for the foreseeable future, though. In the draft, they have the 9th pick, and this might be a really, really nice place to be picking in this year's draft. I think that there's a very good chance that Onyeka Okongwu could fall to them here at number 9, and I think that Onyeka has a shot to be one of the best players in the entire draft when it's all said and done. I think that there's a chance that he could go pretty much anywhere between 3 and 9. And if the Wizards get lucky and he falls to them here, that would be a home run for them in this draft. Otherwise, at this spot, I like Devin Vassell. I think that Devin Vassell. I think that he's going to be a really, really good player. I like him. He's my favorite of the wings in this draft. I like him better than Okoro. I like him better than Nesmith. I think that his shooting is a game changer. That's really what makes me like him over Okoro, as Okoro has a lot of struggles with his jump shot. And I think that he is a decent playmaker as well. Pretty good, really good defender. Not quite as good as Okoro, but I just think that the shooting is a swing skill for him, and that's what makes him better than Okoro in my opinion. So I think that he would be another really nice pick for the Wizards here at 9. Otherwise, if someone like Killian Hayes or Tyrese Halliburton falls to them at 9, those guys would be really, really good value here. I know that their two best players in John Wall and Bradley Beal are both guards, so they might be hesitant to take another guard. But if either of those two guys is on the board for them at 9, they should snatch them right up because those guys have potential to be really good. So in my opinion, their big board should look something like, obviously, guys like LaMelo and Anthony Edwards at the top, but there's not a great chance that either of those guys will be there. But same with Wiseman. So I think that their best options are, or their best option, I should say, is if they are there, Killian Hayes, Tyrese Halliburton. I think I'd actually rather see them take Okongwu than Halliburton, but if none of those guys are there, I think Devin Vassell could be another really good choice for them. I would stay away from Okoro because I just think that his lack of a jump shot is really going to hurt him in the NBA, and I think that he is more of a late lottery or early outside of the lottery type of guy than a guy that you should be looking at with the 9th pick. They also have the 37th pick. There's some interesting names here. If someone like Malachi Flynn or Xavier Tillman or Zeke Naji falls to them here, they should snatch them right up. Grant Riller as well is another guy that I really like who is supposed to, could go at the end of the first round, but teams have differing opinions on him, so there is potential that he could be on the board for them at 37. And I think any of those guys would be a really good pick, especially Malachi Flynn, because I just see him as a really good floor general in the future and someone that could be ready to be a good starting point guard once John Wall's contract expires. Otherwise, some other guys I like in this area are Skylar Mays and Sam Merrill. Both of those two guys bring a little bit of a different aspect to the basketball court, as Mays is more of a combo guard or maybe even more of like a swing man, more of a 2-3 than a 1-2, who can play some really good defense. His offense obviously is not quite, his shooting ability isn't fantastic, but he can get to the rim a little bit, and he's a good defender. With Merrill, obviously, he's possibly the best shooter in this draft class, and he's a really good player. Overall, I think that he's going to be a point guard in the NBA. I think that he is going to be able to play that position, and I think whoever takes him in the second round is going to be coming away with one of the better second round picks in the entire draft. In terms of trades, this is the other way outside of the draft that they could acquire some good young talent. They could trade Bradley Beal, and obviously they've said repeatedly that it's not going to happen, but if they could turn him into a really, really good young player and a first-round pick or two, like that would just be outstanding. I think if the Nets call you up and offer Karis LeVert, Jarrett Allen, and the 19th pick, I would really think about that, because I think that Karis is an outstanding player, and he could be someone for them to build around moving forward as a younger guy than Beal, but another guy that can be... Actually, I'm not sure he's all that much younger than Beal. But you also add Jarrett Allen as a guy who can be a starting center for you. I think that would be a slam dunk trade for them. Although they might need... the Nets might need to throw in Nicholas Claxton and Kurucs or something. I don't know. Do the Nets have enough to get Beal? Maybe not. But the Nuggets are another possibility. You could get like Gary Harris, Michael Porter Jr., and a couple first-round picks. I don't think I would do that because I have worries about Michael Porter Jr.'s injury history, but I also really like MPJ, and if you check him out and all of his physical stuff goes well, then yeah, he'd be a perfect trade candidate, because he looks like a future star right now as long as he can figure it out on the defensive end of the floor a little bit better. And he has had some statements to the press recently doubting the Nuggets front office, or not front office, coaching. So maybe he's a guy that gets moved this offseason in a trade for a star. In terms of free agency, the one guy they have outgoing is Davis Bertans. Bertans is a really good shooter. He was one of the better sixth men in the NBA this year, coming off the bench and just being a spark plug who can get you some buckets right away. He's one of the best three-point shooters in the entire NBA, and he shot him at a pretty high volume as well. And in terms of their targets, I think just keeping Davis around, maybe they could bring in some younger players, but this team has a lot of money already committed to John Wall and Bradley Beal, so they're not going to have a lot of space to bring in more good players, so they should really just focus on hanging on to Bertans, because he's a guy that they have in-house. They could have traded him for some really good value at the trade deadline, and they decided to hang on to him. So you don't want to lose him for nothing when you could have gotten probably a late first-round pick for him. So they should hang on to him and at least keep the asset around. Keep the guy that was on your team this year on your team moving forward. Don't just let him walk for nothing. So, potential 2020-2021 rotation for this team. Probably a starting lineup of John Wall, Brad Beal, Troy Brown Jr., Rui Hashimura, and Onyeka Okongwu, assuming Okongwu falls to them, because I think that he would be the best case scenario guy for them to draft in this draft. Pairing him with Rui in the front court could be really, really good moving forward. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of shooting there, but both of those guys are good defenders and just good players. Being completely honest with you, I did not watch too much of the Wizards this season, so I'm not a complete expert on what Hashimura's game is looking like, but from everything I heard, he had a pretty solid rookie season and exceeded expectations. So he's a nice building block for them moving forward, along with Beal. Wall potentially could have a bounce-back season, and you've got guys like Davis Bertans, Thomas Bryant, along with some young guys like Jerome Robinson and Mo Wagner coming off the bench. This team could be another team that gives a run at the 8th seed, but I actually don't see it happening for them because I don't think that this team is deep enough. I think that Orlando is probably still going to be better than them, and I think that they will probably get leapfrogged by some teams like Charlotte and Chicago. So I really think that this team's future is pretty bleak, but they do have a star in Bradley Beal, and I'd like to see them capitalize on that star by turning him into some players that fit the timeline of their young guys like Hashimura and whoever they take with the 9th overall pick in this upcoming draft. Let me know what you think about this video. I'm sure Wizards fans will be a bit disappointed because I'm really not too high on this team. I don't think that they're as good as some people do. Some people think that this is going to be a playoff team next year, but I just don't see it due to the lack of depth. You're starting Troy Brown Jr., and I know that Brown played well in the bubble, and he's a good defender, but as you can probably tell, like I said, I do not know much about the Wizards. I did not watch much Wizards basketball at all. I think I only watched one game, and that was Chris Middleton's 51-pointer against them as a Bucks fan. But yeah, this team is in a weird spot, and I'd like to see them try to capitalize on that Bradley Beal by making a trade. Let me know your Bradley Beal trade ideas in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. That's it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you all again very soon.